And we're here. What do you think about that? We're not almost here. We're not almost here. What's going on, guys? It's Friday, July 12th. We're headed to August, and before you know it, fall will be here. You'll have your spooky Halloween costumes on, and you'll be ready for all those tricky-treaty things. How's it going, guys? Welcome to Massive Iron Live, the longest-running live Q&A in the history of the lifting universe. We don't do anything here on Massive Iron Live to a minimum degree. It's always a maximum degree, right? So yeah, I've been doing this, I don't know, 500, 600, 800 years. Really happy to be here. I want your guys' questions. If you're new here, please post up a question. There are no dumb questions. There's no stupid questions. There's awkward questions, weird questions, questions we probably don't want to get again, like, how do you get big muscles? How do the guys in prison get big muscles? How do they do that, right? How do they get those big muscles? Here's how you do it. You have your wife just work 80 hours a week so you can lift all week. All right, guys, thanks for being here. If your questions don't post, please try rephrasing them, shortening them. YouTube could sometimes flag a question for a naughty word or something it doesn't like. Who knows? It's YouTube, right? So if your question doesn't go through, try shortening it or rewording it or whatever. So it's not me throttling you. I would never do that unless you're a naughty person, and we don't like naughty people. What's going on? Good grief. This week just absolutely flew by. I'm working on my book. A couple of really exciting things. I'm working on my book in the background. It is 1,000,000 words. I'm not even kidding. How is this even possible, right? I don't know. My main goal in doing this book was to put out all the information, all the tips, every last bit of it, every last bit of quality information, tips I've put out in the last 20 years into one resource. And it is truly biblical in the sense that it is the gospel of massive iron, for better or for worse. You're going to get all the information. You're going to get every damn bit of information to the point where you're going to be like, I can't take any more information. That's how it's going to be. The first Harry Potter book was about 77,000 words. The Massive Iron Omnibus is going to be 14 times that, okay? The amount of information is staggering. There is a fifth of it is just on muscle building tips alone, 200,000 words. The last book you bought in the lifting industry maybe was 30,000 words. So one of the books is going to be like 6-7 times that just on muscle building. I have a whole section on strength building, a big section on mindset and rants, classic rants from the muscle and massive iron world. I cover everything from supersets to concurrent periodization to conjugate training, speed pulling, you name it. It is all in here. So that's coming up. Also, we just are starting the alpha on the workout tracker. I have an app coming out. We've been in development for a year. Mass Forge. We're starting alpha on Monday. We got an alpha group. We're already talking about it. This is going to be real, and this is coming by the end of the year, hopefully. So we've aimed to put together the best workout tracker in the industry. Watch for that. We're firing that up. All right. Before we get into things, guys, number one, watch for my book release probably next week. Okay. Number two, if you need help, don't hesitate to go over to Instagram at Ben the Barman. Please follow me, stalk me, do whatever you need to do. Slide into my DM with questions. I'm here to help, okay? You can ask me questions on Instagram at any time. You can join teammassiveiron.com, teammassiveiron.com. If you haven't joined it, you are well behind the curve. Please come join our community. There is a small gatekeeping fee, but we do so to keep out the riffraff, to keep out the trolls. If you're tired of trolls and political posts and all kinds of crap on social media, this is the place to be, teammassiveiron.com. And if you need coaching, superlivingtoday.com. Get in now because things are ramping up, and fall really goes crazy for me. I have a pretty full book, but I always have room for one or two more. If you need coaching, if you need help, I focus on the transformative process. Everything I do is custom made for you. All right, enough blabbering. How you weirdos doing today? Right? You weightlifting weirdos. Ernie, what's going on? Ernie, good morning. Glad to have you here. Ernie's a client of mine. For the threes protocol, would you ever move the progression indicator to 10? You can do whatever you want, because one thing we teach in the massive iron world is that evolve your training based on needs. The threes protocol, you start with a weight you can do about 6-7 reps with, right? That's your first working set. And then your second set, you drop 10% and perform for max safe reps. And the third set, you drop 10%, you perform for max safe reps. Pretty simple, and involves some of that mathematical stuff, that you knuckleheads didn't focus on in high school because you're too busy blowing bongs or whatever the hell your kids were doing, right? So you got that mathematical stuff. But on the first one, the first set, the progression indicator, if you want to bump that to 8, 9, 10, whatever, fine by me. You still do the 10% drops, you're good to go. Because at the end of the day, we are focused on what? Hard training, hard sets, okay? And whatever rep range, as long as it's reasonable. You've heard me say 1,000 times on this channel, reasonable rep range, right? So as long as you have a reasonable rep range and that is reasonable, you are good to go. Jimmy, big Jimmy Cooksworth, the worth of cooking. Good morning. What's the best strategy getting back to work after being sick for several days? Number one, when you're sick, I generally recommend, when you feel better, taking an extra day of rest, okay? If you feel good, you want to get up that day. You want to nail your water. You want to nail your electrolytes. You probably want to nail some Carbotrons right out of the gate, like, right? Get some oatmeal in. Maybe if you're on a bulk, get a Little Debbie, have a little date with Little Debbie, get some carbs going. We need to replenish the glycogen, electrolytes, water, all that kind of good stuff. So do your normal warm-up sets. If anything feels off, wacky, just not normal, drop weight about 10% and just be smart with things. Stein, how's it going, Stein? Glad to see you here. Paladin, what's your biggest tip for the late intermediate? Number one, revel in the glory of your accomplishments, okay? Because you have come a long way and done a lot of really good work. And you have put together a lot of consistency, and you've learned a lot of lessons. So the biggest tip for my late intermediate lifters is just enjoy the process, because once you get to the late intermediate stage, you're at the 85% stage-ish, right? And the progress that's going to occur moving forward is going to be a long process, 5 to 10 years. You are doing this for life. You're going to be lifting for life. Take care of yourself, right? Don't beat the crap out of your body trying to just get the next rep. What you've done to this point has been quality work. You need to continue to do that, but safely. You can't force the needle, right? The closer you get to the sun, the more it burns. And that's legit when it comes to lifting. The further in you get, the stronger you get, the harder, the more impact training becomes. That burn from the sun, right? So the closer you get to that ultimate land, the more punishing it gets. So take your time, be smart, play the long game, right? I didn't get to this might sound crazy, but I didn't feel at my strongest or biggest until right around age 50. I feel like I peaked legitimately right around age 50. That sounds crazy to you all, but I legit had the last 10 years of my training where I just felt like it was really grooving. It was a long game. There were years where I'd feel like I didn't add much on anything, but at the end of the road, you come out of it with progress. So the biggest thing is be smart. Don't get radical. Don't punish the body. more than you're already doing. Dumbbells and Donuts, a client of mine. Go England. English soccer fan, for those of you that don't know or aren't on Team Massive. Dumbbells and Donuts is. Happy Friday, you magnificent animals. Get after it this weekend. Big Justin Jones. Good morning, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. Can someone progress faster doing only one set for max safe reps faster? No, no, it's not at all. If that was the way, that would be the way everybody would be doing it in the history of lifting, right? You have these black and white camps, like I'm going to do 42 sets for chest this week, or the other end of the spectrum, I'm only going to do one set per exercise in the black and white. The truth is in the middle, and that's your starting point. And from there, you adjust out. No one's going to progress faster doing only one set versus three. If that was the case, that would be the convention, right? But if we look at the history of lifting, which is what Massive Iron is at its heart, history-based analysis of lifting, there's a reason why we're at where we're at, right? Some of it's pragmatic. We lift 60, 70, 75, 80, some of us 90 minutes a day. We only have so much time in the week to lift. We don't seek to minimize, right? We don't seek to arbitrarily minimize. Anyone that seeks to do minimum work, to do the least amount of work, why? Let's do the best amount of work. What is the best amount of work? Well, you have all these guys debating, under 42 sets for chest, and that's going to be the best, and that's a study, and that's optimal, right? And then knucklehead over here like, one set per exercise is all you'll ever need, and naturals are so fragile. You like my bad voices, right? You have these knuckleheads in this black or white world. In the center of the spectrum, you have everybody, right? And you're like, well, everybody's wrong. And no, everybody's not wrong. Everybody's right because everybody's centrist. Everybody's right where normal is. If you think that doesn't work, if you think that's been wrong for 70 years, that's on you. And I'm not saying you, Justin, specifically, but don't listen to these fringe voices, people. Ground yourself in what has been occurring the last 70 years of lifting. That's the safe spot. That's the safe starting spot. That's where you want to be. There's so many voices and so much crap out there in the toilet bowl called YouTube fitness, YouTube lifting. Ignore those fringe guys, those hit Jedis, those single set per exercise Jedis. They've been around forever, telling you that naturals are fragile and that you don't need more than one set per exercise. And they are full of shit, quote, end quote. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, and I'm sorry if that makes your panties fall off, but that's the reality. It is the reality. Don't hate me. It is the reality. I didn't create the reality. Every lifter in the past 70 years created the reality. And these guys are going to sit over here and say they're all wrong. They're all wrong. They're all wrong. No, they're not. They're not wrong because it's getting the job done effectively. If it was one set per exercise, everybody would just be doing one set per exercise. I'm not saying that can't work. I'm not saying you can't build muscle with it, but let's not go there, right? That stuff is fringe. That stuff is, based on the body is fragile or you're going to die if you're a natural. Bull crap. I've been in this industry for so long, and everybody I have seen that reaches a top level, natural or not, is busting their balls in the gym. They are not fragile. They are not made of glass. And anybody that tells you this is completely full of shit. They're completely full of shit, and there's no other way to say it. So you need to stop following them. You need to stop listening to them. And you need to understand that they're detached from reality. They're detached from reality. Their wiring doesn't wire into reality. That's not my opinion. That's reality. You look at every lifter in the last 70 years, and 99.999% of them are doing conventional work, where we start in the massive iron world. They're not doing one set per exercise. But one set per exercise can work. Anything can work. We teach that in the massive iron world. But why are we going to seek weird ends of the spectrum when we can start in a safe spot that intelligently makes sense, based on the last 70 years of training. Amen. Can I get an amen? Or whatever you want to do. Hallelujah. Big Jonathan. Happy Friday, Steve and Team Massive. If I could only train on Monday, Montag, I'm trying to remember my German. Tuesday, what's Midfolk? I forget. Thursday and Friday, what would be a fitting spot? Monday, Thursday, Friday. So an upper posterior, and you need to be really careful. An upper posterior, upper is chest, shoulders, and arms, posterior is legs and back. You could do that alternating, but if you do upper before posterior, you need to move your biceps work to your posteriors, because you don't want biceps fatigue before posterior day. So you could do upper, posterior, upper, and then the next week posterior, upper, posterior. And the second week you can move biceps to posterior. One of the things you could do, if you're not like super cray about legs, is you could do, well, let me think. With Thursdays and Fridays, that might make it a little bit more difficult. You could do upper, posterior, and then full body. So you could do upper on Monday. You could do posterior on Thursday, and then Friday you could do more full body work that was less compound-ish, barbell-ish focused. So you could get all your big lifts done on Monday and Thursday, like your bench and your overhead press and your squats and deads or whatever you're doing. And then come Friday, Freitag, right? You could do like just a general full body, whatever you wanted to do that day. That even doing things like machine chest press or side lateral raises or leg extensions. You could even work in like a leg press, whatever. That's an option as well. Barbell Beauty from Team Massive. Barbell Beauty was the member of the month last month on Team Massive. Congratulations. She works super hard, and you should follow her on Instagram. I always put her in any of you Team Massive guys or clients, I try to keep up with you, and I try to repost you on my Instagram stories. So just make sure you tag me if you can, or tag Team Massive, and I'd be happy to share your efforts. What is your preferred intensity technique when the dumbbell weight increment precludes a step up in weight? So when you are doing, when it's challenging to step up in weight, the best thing to do is to move the first set up in weight. If you can't move up in weight at all, then we probably need to move to bulldozers or block type of training. If you are limited by that, then we need to get rid of the exercise, because we need stuff in our program that is going to allow for progressive overload. Some of it's going to be a little bit slower, like your side lateral raises. You're going to get to 30s, maybe 35s, and you're capped out for life, right? Capped out for life. El Capitano, right? So you're capped out for life, and you might have to just get rid of that exercise and do something that allows you to, what I'm doing right now? I'm turning down the temperature so it's cooler here in the basement. Let's see if my wife notices. You might have to just change exercises, but I'm not sure if I answered your question. Let me know. Big Billy Baker, a client of mine. Hey, cheers, team. I find that I'm really drawn towards alternating lower reps with higher reps. Nothing wrong with that. I like doing that. And once, Bill, you're pretty strong. So once you get to that stronger level and you have good technique, there's nothing wrong with that. There's only benefits, especially on a lift. Once you get to the intermediate stage, you can break a lot of rules, right? You can basically do whatever you want as long as the consistency in there is there and things are reasonable. So I find what I call nonlinear periodization, meaning low reps and higher reps, or volume work and rest pause work, or alternating between two methods that are seemingly diametrically opposed or whatever, is a good call. One of my first workouts way back in the day, and let me see if I can find it. One of my first workouts Non-linear periodization. Let me just see if I can find it before I run my mouth. Is this me? Let's see. Steve Shaw, non-linear. I gotta find it. I can't find it. But I think there was a workout I put together focused on non-linear periodization and muscle and strength, where it was more regular training, and then it was like rest pause training or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it's a good way to go. Big Justin Jones, should Bulgarian spit squats? We got a new exercise here. Spitting squats. That sounds rather scandalous. Depending on what's actually spitting, and we don't want to know what's spitting. Is it the mouth or is it the spitting snake, so to speak? All right, we're crude here. We're crude. We're being crude. Sorry, it's Friday. I don't do crude jokes often, but you set it up, Justin, so I had to knock it down. The old spitting snake squat should be done. Sorry, guys. It should be done before heel elevated squats if the reps are lower on the Bulgarians. It doesn't matter. They're both moderate, and that doesn't mean bad exercise. Moderate means like the big hitters are squats and leg press or whatever. It's not that they're easy, they're not, but they're kind of a step down. You can do them whatever you want. You can do them whatever the way you want. It doesn't really matter. Whatever's comfortable for you. Jonathan, congrats on finishing your book. Thank you. Impressive word count. Could a memoir biography be next? I don't know, man. I mean, I could write something. If I did something like that, I'd like to put in life lessons, things I've learned. I don't know if you guys want to know. That would be kind of fun to do just as a pet project. You know, what I learned about life, love, and lifting and people. I don't know. There's so many stories I could tell from the lifting world. I'm always amazed when you see these biographies and you see like somebody talking about Jose Canseco in baseball, putting a needle in his butt, Sarah needle in his butt. There's so many stories I could tell in a biography about people, not kiss and tell type of stuff, but so much interesting stuff. But, you know, somebody would probably get ticked off. Right. There's just things that I've been seen and heard and things that I've seen in my office and people I've trained with. And, I don't know. What are we allowed to say? What are we not allowed to say? I don't know. Jerry Ward, God bless his soul. He's no longer with us. I've trained with him. One of the weakest people I've ever seen trained is trained with no passion. I mean, I've seen so many different things. I don't know what would be interesting and what wouldn't be interesting and what would seem like me being, I don't know. We've seen it all, folks. We've seen it all. I've just been like a fly on the wall cruising by in this industry, just lifting weights and watching all the weirdos. Adam, big, hairy, ugly dude, I find it much easier to progress on lifts early in the workout versus later. That's normal. Makes sense to rotate. No. You don't rotate the order of the lifts just because the workout gets tougher at the end. That's the way it works. That's the way it goes. That's why we structure more of the big hitters out the front. You're trying to overcomplicate and engineer out progression. It all takes care of itself. What you really need to focus on is over the long term, I'm going to build work capacity. It's okay for this. We're not chasing numbers on the secondary lifts, right? We're chasing hard training. No matter how you rotate things, if something's always at the top and something's always at the bottom, right, things are going to even out over 5-10 years. If you rotate squats to the bottom, then you're going to have inconsistent progression. And then you're not going to know what to expect when you rotate to the top. Don't overthink this stuff, guys. This is way out of bounds, and I mean that respectfully. What are you trying to achieve, right? The issue here is that you're trying to balance and you're getting frustrated in the gym for all the wrong reasons, Adam, and I mean this respectfully. You're getting frustrated because the fourth or fifth lift in your workout is feeling, you're feeling a little fatigued. What you should get mad at yourself about is that your work capacity sucks. And I mean that respectfully, Okay. I mean that with all the love and caring in my heart. I mean that with all the air hugs I can. You need to go in there and get your Rocky Balboa ass, big juicy testicles, just pull them up, those grapefruits, and say, I'm going to go after it. We're going to build our work capacity. I can go in here and on my fifth and sixth exercise, I can rip the shit off those exercises. I can rip the shit up. I'm not superhero. I'm not a superhero. But it's that eye of the LT gray, right? You need to get in there and work on that work capacity. You can't re-engineer and slice and dice things and make a magical thing. And we're not chasing numbers. You're chasing the wrong thing. Instead of trying to figure out a way to make everything feel pleasant, fuck that. Figure out, we don't want everything to feel pleasant. If it feels pleasant, you might as well be out in the field picking daisies or some bullshit. Lifting isn't pleasant. We're not focused on making everything feel even, right? We're not focused on, well, my fourth set feels hard. No shit, it feels hard. It should feel hard. That's the challenge. That's the dragon you're trying to slay. You're trying to build up your work capacity. We don't give a fuck about numbers, excuse my language. We don't care about numbers. Numbers are a byproduct of hard training. We're worried about bringing up our work capacity and training hard. And numbers be damned. The numbers will come up. They always will. If you spend all your time trying to build a system where we're rotating exercises so they're equal, right? No. You're doing the wrong, you're focusing on the wrong things. Your focus has to be on hard training. We do not care if dips are fourth in the program and they feel weak. I get this all the time. Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude. I'm doing a workout and I got this and I got that and I got this. And then by the time I get to my fourth exercise, dips, they feel weak. But I want my dips, whatever. That's great. I understand you want your dips to feel good. I understand you want everything to feel good. I get it. There are certain cases where moving exercises around could be okay. If you want to do dips first on a press workout, go ahead. But if you're constantly feeling like the fourth exercise in is kicking you in the cojones, that's good. That means you have room to improve, room to build work capacity. Don't worry about the numbers. Worry about hard training. If you're in this for 10 years, all of those lifts are going to get stronger, right? Don't do that. Don't rotate. Don't rotate. The worst thing you can do is overcomplicate this process. What are you trying to achieve? You're trying to achieve something that you're going to achieve naturally in 10 years without the overcomplication. Thank you, Adam. And Adam, I hope you take that from a place of respect and a place of caring, because what I teach, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I am not trying to be an asshole. I'm trying to help you guys. I want you to go into the gym and say, I got this exercise order and we're going to build up our work capacity. And I'm not going to care about numbers. I'm going to care about hard training. Numbers will come. And if you feel fatigued 4 or 5 exercises in, that's good. You should. That means you're on the right track. But take that as a challenge. McBean, in for the thumbs up. Thank you, sir. If you haven't checked out McBean Scottish Fitness on Instagram, he can bench. He's pretty darn good, amongst other things, obviously. I had 430 come out of my hands and it hit my ass. Sorry to hear that, man. In recovery mode. I survived, but waiting for the microfractures to heal. Yeah, man, I've been there. I hurt one time I picked up an empty oil drum just at work, right? An empty oil drum, and I tore my left shoulder. And I had to spend a year starting with 45 pounds, adding 5 pounds onto the bar. So, look, McBean Fitness is one of a benching badass, a seasoned gentleman, as we would say, someone that's been around the block. I made a video about, discouraging thumbless scripts. I'm not saying he was. I'm just saying I made a video about that. This is exactly why I want to remove the variability, the potential for bad things. And I'm not saying McBean was doing that. I'm just saying I hope you get well, and I don't mean to derail your post with that, but I just want everybody to be safe, and I'm sorry you have to go through that. Slow and steady should be competing in. Just keep me updated, man. I don't always spend a lot of time on the old Instagrams, but I will tell you, I do follow as much as I can, and I do watch. And, I wouldn't be surprised if me just talking about McBean Fitness, if I pulled up like the old Instagram, no, say that and it hangs, pull it up and he would be first. No, we got the Dulce diet. Of course, I would be first. All right. BBBBR. Did I say that fast enough? Going on vacation for 2 weeks, and I don't have a lot of time to work out. Should I focus more on getting steps in? Most people, when they go on vacation, tend to move more. So most people, I hate to generalize, but most people tend to move more on vacation naturally. The first thing I want you to focus on vacation is having fun, vacationing, not mentally carrying burdens with you. How many steps am I getting in? How much cardio am I getting in? It's hard to detrain in 2 weeks, right? So I want you to have fun. Not a lot's going to take place in 2 weeks. Do what you enjoy, do what you have time to do. If you get in some lifting, go for 30 minutes and do some rest pause or volume or block training. A lot of times I'll just grab the 50s and do 5 sets of 15 on the dumbbell bench and a few push-ups, and I'll leave, right? Because a lot of times there's just so many other things going on. So I'm not saying you can't lift. What I would say is just have fun, be smart, and take a mental break from thinking about numbers, thinking about programs, thinking about whatever. The worst thing that could happen is that you come back more than 10 days from a bench press or a squat or a deadlift or whatever, and you have to drop weight 10%. That's the worst thing that could happen. You're not going to lose muscle mass, and that's the absolute worst. So I hope you have fun. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm not trying to tell you can't work out during but just have fun with it. Play around. Make it fun. Take a mental break from worry. Big Barbell Bryce up in Canada where it's 7,000 degrees. Do you think straight sets are relatively equal to threes or DDP? We don't do that. Okay. Here's why we don't do that. Dynamic double progression is each set has its own progression indicator and its own weight, and you move it up according to your progression indicator. Threes we covered earlier. Straight sets use the same weight for each set, and you only push to the last set for max safe reps. We don't do that, and here's why. You are a 10-year plan, okay? Regardless of how you train during that 10-year plan, you're going to go from point A to point B. And if you're consistent, you're overloading, you have a reasonable exercise selection, you're going to go from point A to point B, and you're going to make great gains. During those 10 years, you're going to have seasons of your life where you can train more, you can train less, where your passion wanes, where your passion's laser focused, where you're going to have summer seasons where the heat's intense and winter seasons where you can train for days. All of the variance doesn't matter as long as you have a progression plan into place. Every exercise is going to be different, and there's going to be seasons for every different exercise. As long as you remain consistent, have a progression approach, nail your bulking and cutting, everything over that 10-year period of time is going to take care of itself, okay? It's going to take care of itself. Because no one wakes up and says, what am I going to do, A, B, or C, and I'm going to do that for 10 straight years. It just rarely happens. One of the things I want to do on this channel is encourage you guys to relax, to set the burdens aside. Massive iron is like biblical in that sense. Come to me, all ye weary, right? I'm not trying to get religious, and set your burdens aside. We don't have to worry about that stuff, right? We don't have to. As long as we have a progression approach, we're going to have different seasons. All right, I want to do threes in this season. Okay, I'm a little bit burned out from doing every set for max safe reps. I want to do straight sets in this season. I want to do cluster sets in this season. I want to do rest pause in this season, right? A big part of this is enjoying your training. A big part of this is allowing yourself to adjust your approach based on that season of training. There's so much stuff in this industry that's trying to make you think that you don't have flexibility, that there truly is optimal. Over the course of 10 years, optimal is consistency. Over the course of 10 years, optimal is consistency with training and consistency with nutrition, using a reasonable exercise selection, evolving every exercise based on needs. That's what optimal is. Optimal is not some video from an influencer. So, Bryce, all I can say to you is that we're talking in a world that is trying to distill what is the best. The best is doing the best you can right now. You're worried about the difference, but over the course of 10 years, the difference doesn't matter, okay? If one gave you a 5% advantage, but you trained for 10 years, everything equals out over 10 years because the differences are trivial. That's the magic. That's the truth. The differences are trivial. And over 10 years, they even out. Okay. So I made a video recently about why optimal doesn't matter. If somebody starts out quicker and someone starts out at 75% of Mr. Optimal, but they both run for 10 years, they're basically going to be at the same place after 10 years. I think I did that live last week or the week before. Do you guys recall that? Big Joe B, client of mine from Team Massive. Harris from Team Massive, good morning. Rorden Gramsey. Oh, I said Gramsey. Sorry, Gamsey. Good morning. How do you determine if someone is intermediate? So, if someone has a good grasp of exercise form, ting. If someone has established a track record of strength and muscle progress, ding, right? Like my sound effects. If someone is consistent enough to actually progress, ding, right? So you have good form, you have consistency, and you have a track record of results. Does someone, and probably one of the final things is someone evolving their training based on needs? Are they at the point where they're reliant on others to program? Not 100%. I have a lot of intermediates that come to me for advice, but an intermediate will kind of begin to understand what works for them. So they'll look for variables that work for them in certain lanes. Does that make sense? Brutus the Barber, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Harris, what reward are you giving yourself from completing the book? I will reward myself with getting back to normal training. Because I'm all in right now. There are times in life where things have to take precedent, have to be put on an elevated place above training. And I hate to say it, but that's life. And I need to get this book out. It's been this is my life's work. Regardless of what anybody thinks about it, regardless of if anybody thinks it's too much, it is my life's work. And for better or worse, it is what it is. I didn't set out to make it a million words. But if you look at all the content, I went through my videos during this process. And it's funny because I had somebody a couple of weeks ago say in the comments, all your videos are the same. And I literally looked back at all my videos over the last 12 years, and there's so much variety in content, different workouts, different tips, different ideas, different concepts. I'm proud of that. And when I went to put together all this information into a book, when I didn't set out for it to be any number of words. I'm just like, I'm going to get all my information out, put it in one format so it's there when I go, and eat the dirt, take the old dirt nap, it's done, right? So my reward is that I'm going to move on to focusing on my workout tracker app and take a break because I'm legitimately grinding myself thin right now. You might not be able to tell it on this video, but I'm grinding myself thin. Do you have a price point for the hard copy? So anybody that wants to pre-order the digital can do now until it comes out for $69. I know that seems like a lot of money, but it's literally, you don't have to, and I'll explain. But it's literally 14 times the size of Harry Potter. It's going to be like 12 to 14 books. Okay, it's going to be an encyclopedia. Digitally, though, I'm going to have 4 segments digitally, probably. Or I might just do each book individually digitally. So you can buy the entire thing right now for $69. You go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, and you can pre-order. And you can get all of it for $69. Once it comes out, though, and I officially release, all of it digitally is going to be $149. Now, I know some of you guys are like, what? It's a million words, right? I'm going to sell each individual book for a reasonable price. So you can buy 1 or 2. You don't have to buy everything. You don't have to buy the calves training or legs training book if you don't want it, right? So you'll be able to pick and choose what you buy. The hard copies will come out about a week. Once the basic formatting for digital is done, I just have to shrink and do the things for the hard copy books. And that's just not a big burden. It just takes a little bit of time. But I work with a book publisher that prints everything on order. We, in this day and age, have the ability to, if somebody places an order, they can send it to the printer right there. Done. And it goes out. So they're pretty quick. It usually goes out within 2 to 3 days. Because we're going to have 10 to 14 books, each one is going to cost about $10 to $14 to print. I'm not a major publisher. I can't do better. I can't strike a deal with them. So each hardcover book is probably going to be $25 to $30, right? If you're looking at 14 of them, 10 of them would be, I don't know. I'm thinking the whole series is going to be $299 to $349 to $399. I got to figure it out. But you'll still be able to buy each of it individual book separately. I am going to do a special signed series. Those that do the signed series are going to receive a t-shirt. They're also going to receive optionally a gym bag or something else. And they're going to receive like a commemorative poster and maybe a commemorative flag, depending on what they want, a book bag or a flag. Just as a thank you, for those that want to get in and do the signed copies, they'll get a little bit of a unique package. So I'm going to try to give a lot of value there, but I don't have a price point yet because right now I am formatting the books, taking out all the spelling words and making sure there's no missed periods and things like that. And then once the major sweep is done, Then I have to put it in book order, make sure that it looks good as a book, a digital book. And then, I mean, there's more forgiveness in a digital book. If I make an error, I can just change the error and resend out a new update for you guys. That's what my system does. But the hard copies, I have to figure out one by one, so it's very difficult to tell. I want to train my neck directly. What do you recommend? Number one, you need to understand it's a long process. Whether you're training your traps, your biceps, your triceps, whatever you're going to do. If I want to say this politely and with respect, I want you guys to understand this, because a lot of guys think like, I'm going to train my forearms and add forearm training and neck training, and all of a sudden, boom, they're going to blow up. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're going to do neck training or forearm training, the first question you need to ask yourself is, am I in this for 5 years? If you're not, you might as well not even waste your time, because you need a long period of time to build up your neck and forearms. That's the way it works. So the first thing I'll tell you is don't do it unless you're committed in the long run. Now, I want you guys to know, and this is controversial, and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's the gospel. It's the truth. I've been around a bit. I've trained with guys from West Side. I trained at the gym for a year with the strongest power lifter in the world, Donnie Thompson. Trained with Ronnie Coleman. I've trained with Mike Rashid. I've trained with all the people indirectly, directly. Content with them all, trained with them all. I didn't train with Mike Rashid, but I did content videos with him. But I've been around them all, most of them. Almost all of them have three things in common. They're all big necks, big forearms, and big front delts, even though they don't train them directly. So I want you guys to understand that if you just go from point A to point B over 10 years, those areas are going to naturally come up. That doesn't mean you can't add in extra work, but if you do, it has to be a 5-year plan. I don't like neck training because I find I give myself a headache. I would do some sort of a neck harness where you can progressively overload and control the weight safely. That's what I would do. I'm not a neck training expert, so I would look for other methods, but be safe. Dumbbells and donuts. Do you think it's a bad idea to have 50% of your daily calories? No. There's no nighttime penalty. It's all a matter of convenience. There's no change in the way the body functions. The body is very efficient, set up to efficiently digest and process and handle the food. If we were radical and handled it better at some times of the day than others, we would all be naturally doing that as a natural flow and part and parcel of being alive, but it's not. There's no penalty. Way back when, I put out a video on 40-60 eating, basically saying one of the ways you could work to maintain your weight was to eat 40% of your calories the time before you work out or before 5 p.m. and then save 60% of your calories for later in the day. That is perfectly okay. There's no downside. The body, when food goes in your stomach, it gets churned into what's called chyme in your intestines, C-H-Y-M-E. Okay, chyme. The digestion of this chyme in your intestines will slow down or speed up depending on what your body needs. So it'll maximize the digestion and the process through your intestines to get out everything it needs to get out. So however many miles, yards, feet of intestines we have, it's not like things just go from the stomach to the anus, right? It goes through a process. It's turned into chyme. It goes through the intestine, does its little magical journey, right? So it has the opportunity to be digested properly. There's no penalty at all. Once it gets in there, there's plenty of room for everything. It's slowed down appropriately. utilized appropriately. So you're all good. All right, live starts now. Ooh, we're 50 minutes in, right? I'm going to have a drink. And we got the old purple monsters today. With all these healthy ingredients. Carbonated agua, erythritol, citric acid. Hey, that almost sounds like eating an orange. Taurine, sodium citrate. That's my favorite citrate. Natural and artificial flavors. I prefer the artificial. Who wants natural anyway? We want to be enhanced with artificial flavors, right? We don't want natural. Natty or not, I'm not natty. I have artificial flavors. All right, let's go, guys. Post your questions up now. If you had Elon Musk money, would you still continue to coach and provide YouTube content? I would have other things I like to do. I would better structure my day. I would have running time. I would have lifting time. I would have watching sports and butt on couch time. I'd have movie time. There's other things I like to do. I like to write fiction. That's how I got started in all this. I started writing fiction. I have 2 children's books put out for adventure books for about age 7 to 12 on Amazon under the name S. William Shaw. They are Sherman Oak and the Magic Potato and the Santa Mysteries. So if you have a young adult that likes adventure books, I would write. I like writing horror. I like writing science fiction. I like writing. I would make time to do that. I also like game creation. I'm a tabletop gamer. Sports. I like doing that. I probably would spend more time doing that. And I'd spend more time sleeping. I definitely have a community, a lifting community, where I could help people and connect and do live videos. I would probably have more of a group coaching environment. But I don't know. It's all fairy tale stuff, right? Eric, would you prefer to eat nutria or kangaroo? I don't even know what you're doing here. What? That's just a made up word, right? Nutria. What the heck is nutria? You're just coming on here trying to sound like all smarty pants McJones. Like, would you rather eat nutria? Like, what the heck is that? Is nutria rat a beaver? Like, I've been around for 56 years. I never heard of that thing. That's like, would you rather eat an animal you never heard of or a kangaroo? Would you rather eat an animal you never heard of or a kangaroo? I'd rather not eat any of it if this is a question. I'd just probably rather become a vegan than to eat a bunch of stuff I'd never heard of. I don't know. I'd eat anything once. Hey, Steve, do you think heavy one-arm rows are enough to build and maintain? No. In the massive iron world, we don't look at hypotheticals that aren't realistic. Okay? And here, let me explain because I'm not trying to insult you. Let's get back to the big 10-year plan. Over the course of 10 years, no one's just going to do heavy one-arm rows. I think the question you're asking is, are they a good cornerstone exercise? Are they a good cornerstone exercise? Yeah, they're a brilliant exercise. They are at the top of my list for back building. I put them a hair above the Pendley row. Solo, though, no. You can't just do one exercise for any body part to maximize size. You can do inverted rows. You can do Meadows rows. You can do Pendley row, machine row, chest supported row. You got to get some other rows in the mix. Let's see. Before we move on, let's see if my wife figured out that I turned on the air conditioning yet. Because, like, that's the game. You know, anybody that's married knows the game. Like, your husband and wife, like, we got to sing in the house. She turned it up 1 degree. I'm going to turn it down 1 degree just to mess with her. we got this thing in the house. We got this newfangled thing where I could control the temperature with my phone and app, all that kind of good stuff. So I'll be on my side of the bed at like 3 a.m, like right, and then she'll get up to pee, and then she'll be like, I want to get an implant in my brain where I can control it. Should strength training for a hypomobile double jointed person be different? No, there's no different set of rules. The only thing that's ever different is we have to adjust our exercise selection based on our body. What do we like? What do we don't like? What feels good? As long as we have always remember this, as long as you have a reasonable selection of exercises, you are G to G, good to go. Our heel shakes, sufficient as extra meals, yes. You want to have a base of protein or animal based. How much of this, we can debate, but you need to get in your nutrients. And one of the best nutrient sources, arguably eggs and meat. So you want to get in your base of that. But if you struggle to get into your protein, or you're poor like the rest of us in 2024, because everything suddenly jumped up 30 to 40% in prices, and you can barely afford to look at a chicken breast, right? And sometimes you're driving down the road and you see a chicken in someone's yard, and you just want to steal it because it's 2024, and it's you're like, do I risk going to jail over stealing a chicken, or do I empty my savings to buy 3 eggs, right? Just being human. As long as you get in a good solid base, you can fill in the cracks with whatever makes sense. Beefcake, I like the rants. Thanks. I hope you guys always know my rants are from a place of love and respect or comedy. Petey, Spirit, what's going on? Big JP, I've been trying pullovers lately. Did the incline bench by far. A lot of folks have been. A lot of folks that I've been working with have been messing with the inclines lately, and been nothing but positive feedback. I've tried the dumbbell pullover, and I felt my right arm doing the work more. That's going to be kind of the thing. For most of us, we have an advantage with one arm. For me, it's the right arm. My right arm's a little bigger. Right arm's a little bit stronger. That's probably normal for most of us. All you can do is focus on feel. Just focus on feel. Don't worry about those little micro nuances. It's good that you have that awareness, okay? That's a good thing. But don't worry so much about those micro nuances. Just worry about progression, doing the best you can. You'll be all good. BBBBR. VO2 max, the best indicator of long-term health. I believe there's been some studies that discuss that, but I think it's in a vacuum. Really, I think it's just living in a vacuum. There's every time you see one of those people, like the world's oldest man just celebrated his 119th birthday today, and he's sitting there smoking a cigar and just sitting there without a care in the world. It's a complex thing: genetics, stress, self-abuse, inflicted. I don't think it's the best indicator. I think keeping yourself in good shape is a positive, but I wouldn't go so far to say the best indicator, I think, is a more well-rounded picture with a lot of luck. And it gets struck by lightning today. Richard Arias Quintero. Greetings. What method do you recommend to incorporate calisthenics? I like body weight work. I'm not an expert at it. I'm not a Jedi at it. But during the pandemic, we did a lot of it. And I've always typically incorporated in some body weight calisthenics, from jumping jacks to pushbacks to push-ups to whatever. Just I like the idea. You can do it after a workout. You can do it on off days. Just make sure you're recovered. It depends on the degree of effort you're putting into it, because you do want to be recovered for your muscle building, strength training workouts. That's your A1 priority. When you look at longevity or general health, you need to have that as your cornerstone, and everything else needs to be needs to be kind of set up around that, if that makes sense. So you're recovered enough to go into that with a good effort. Prime Pyro, what makes a good coaching client from your experience? Well, coaching aside, let's set the coaching aside and just say what makes someone capable of achieving good results. Number one, they are willing to track and report and monitor. If you aren't willing to track and monitor to a reasonable degree, like if you aren't willing to track your workouts, you might get lucky and just intuitively progress over time. And there are people that could possibly do that, but there's no reason not to do it, right? So you have to be willing to monitor your lifting. Your bulks really have to be focused. This is a precision game. We can't be willy-nilly, as mom used to say, right? My mom did. We have to have a purpose, have a structure. So that's important. Guys that are open to that, they'll say, I'm going to do what it takes. People that find a way rather than laying their excuses on the altar. I don't like to X, Y, or Z. Okay, great. Imagine a soccer player or football player, whatever you do, a baseball player, somebody in college studying to be a physicist, somebody who wants to be a veterinarian, whatever the thing is in life, a relationship with your partner. You can't play the I don't like to do X, Y, or Z if it's a vital part of the process. Becoming a veterinarian, becoming a surgeon, becoming a better golfer. You don't get to say, I don't like to use a putter, right? So therefore, we're going to change the game so we don't have any greens. Silly, I know. But you hear me. There are certain things you need to do for the game you're playing in life. And you don't get to alter reality. Yes, there are 1% of 1% that can indirectly bulk and gain mass and not get in front of themselves, but they're lucky. Why would you put your fate in the hands of luck when you know all it takes is a little bit of planning? So that ability is cornerstone. And people that don't overthink. People that give them a plan and they run with the plan and they do the plan and they run the bulk and they run the program and we work on things together. Like this exercise, what can we do? Those are the people that see amazing results. The people that are like wanting a new program every 2 weeks because of something they read on the internet, they're in a place of imprisonment. And I mentioned earlier, in the massive iron world, we are trying to free you. We're trying to give you this huge playground to train in that is reasonable, not easy, reasonable. But there are people that you put them in the playground and they always want to hop over the fence because there's somebody over there that's doing one set per exercise, right? So those are the people that are the most successful. 1 second. All right. Omnibus. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. BBBBR. Is there any scientific reason why overeating one day causes you to be extremely more? Scientifically, yes. Physiologically, yes. Like if you overeat, there's going to be different things going on, insulin levels and leptin levels. And I'm no nutritional scientist and biochemist, but there's a lot of stuff going on. Stuff going on with your gut microbiome. Like you ever overeat and then like the next day your gut feels kind of like a landmine, but you still feel kind of hungry. And it's very disruptive. So there can definitely be reasons, combinations of insulin, odd insulin activity, odd leptin activity, odd gut microbiome activity, whatever, things like that. Mr. Motion Man, does the DDP bench protocol require a deload? No, nothing requires a deload. Nothing I do in my world requires a deload. We keep the deloads rather intuitive. You can run things as long as you want. If you need a mental or physical break, just take an extra day or two. But beyond that, you are fine. Where are we at? Hello, coach. How do you combine the smart way, hypertrophy? They're the same thing. The smart way is to understand, and I mean this with respect, they're the same thing. They're not different. People that the biggest power lifters, it was shown a couple of years ago, are also almost to a man or woman. The biggest power lifters are almost always the strongest power lifters. Size and strength are intertwined. There's no difference. One of the biggest cancers in lifting is force feeding everybody that there's strength work and there's hypertrophy work. It's all the same. It's all base building. If you're building a base on bench press and you get really strong levels and you want to start to do exercise variations for the purpose of strength, or you want to start doing the low rep work for the purpose of strength, you can, but it's all the same. Base building is all the same. There's no difference between strength and hypertrophy work. It's a self-created paradigm where we start to do a lot of what we consider strength work when we haven't even built up our base. It's actually going to probably be more counterproductive. If you're new and you're just doing low rep work and doing endless variations of lifts, it's not going to expedite strength for you. It's not as a beginner. Once you reach your base of strength and hypertrophy, you still need off-season base building, which is muscle building or power building for strength. But when you're peaking or when you're doing your strength training, you also probably will benefit from low rep work after you have built up a base, and then a little bit of exercise variety, because you need to continue to challenge the body to get the last 10, 15, 20% out of it. I'm going to jump forward. How do you explain strong, small guys? He's not small muscular wise. If you analyze, this is not, this is true. If you look at guys, his body weight, he's muscular. He doesn't lack muscle, right? He's going to have more muscle than anybody that is similar, almost in every case, body weight. So, and also, some people just have better genetics, they have better leverages, they have better limb lengths, and they're just built for it. Some people just are. Why? How do you? I mean this respectfully, but how do you explain Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan? Right? How do you explain that Olympic marathoner that ran under 2 hours? How do you explain the best? How do you explain Babe Ruth? Right? And I mean this respectfully, but what's the end goal? Are we trying to reverse engineer something? Are we trying to find a way to get strong without getting big? No, we're not. What's the point? So Ian West says he weighs 170 and deadlifts 600. Yeah, great. There's been a lot of guys like that over the years, but he's still muscular. Okay, he's not like, when you say small, he weighs what the average natural bodybuilder does on stage. Have you ever seen a natural bodybuilder competitor on stage? That's what they weigh. Okay. So just for reference, just because we're talking about him, anybody that doesn't know what he looks like, how do you explain? Okay, ready? How to explain this guy? Muscle base. No fat on them, right? You put fat on them, you'd weigh like 200 and whatever. So I don't know. It is what it is. He has a lot of muscle mass, plus he has amazing genetics. The strongest power lifters are also the biggest. All right, where are we at? I got to go back and find out where we were. All right. Is it okay to work up to a heavy single? On bench, you're pretty safe. On squats, you're getting into hairy, scary territory a little bit, but you could. I'm going to ask you, though, that's not the best structure for doing things, for building strength. So would it be okay on squats and bench? Bench more so than squats. Squats, when you feel good, it would probably be okay. You're just increasing the risk-reward ratio, right? It's just not... somebody said I missed Cosmic Beans. I didn't miss anything. I don't see it. I don't see a Cosmic Bear. I think you're ahead of me, my friend. No, I didn't miss it. I just skipped to somebody at the end. What I did was I just skipped to the question at the end and I went back to the beginning or middle. If you're going to do heavier training, it has to be a little bit more focused than this. Bench, you can do it whenever you want, but like arbitrarily doing a heavy single, I would prefer that you have some structure to what you're doing, especially with squats. When I was squatting, you're talking to somebody that at my peak squat, I was working up to a max set. This could be a single, double, triple, quad, or 5. But it was very much on how I felt that day. So, like, when you're talking heavy training, it has to be in tune with how you're feeling that day, right? So just make sure it's there. Adding in one single really isn't programming. It's more like having a bag of Doritos with your lunch. It makes you feel there's nothing wrong with it as long as you stay healthy, but I wouldn't call it overly productive. Hey man, VersaGrips do help with golfer's elbow. I think they take off stress of your forearms, takes off grip stress, correct? Which prevents your elbow pain from, VersaGrip Pros, what you're feeling with the golfer's elbow is the overuse of the grip, and that's going to give you golfer's elbow. So when you're able to relax your grip with the VersaGrips, it's definitely going to help. Because of the length of your new book, I hesitate to ask if you'll be putting out. Man, I would probably die if I did audio. The thing is, Rat Race, I mean this respectfully, I'm not big enough where a lot of people would listen to the audio. So the time investment, would be a little bit too much. I wish it would be worth it. I mean, I'd love to do it if I had time. I just don't. What was your leanest body fat percentage? When I was in like 1 week left in basic training, I remember being at my leanest. I remember just being shredded as I ever was. I don't know what it was. We didn't run around at the end of basic training looking at mirrors. I just remember looking in the mirror like for 1 second going, what's that? Around 88, 89, I ran pretty close to about 13 and a half body fat percentage. I wasn't very fat at all. And I stayed around there probably. I slowly started to creep up after I got out of the military in 94. From 94 till 99, my weight increased from about 186 to 274. And I've documented that many times on this channel. My height's 5'10". I used to be 5'10 and a half. Now I'm 5'10". I have been always doing a lot of movement. When I was a teenager, I would get up, play baseball, I'd play basketball, I'd smack a ball against the wall with a tennis racket. I'd go out running. I would do step ups. I was always super active. So no matter what stage of my life I was at, I was always very, very active. In college, I lifted, but I would also play basketball every day. I would run. I would play ping pong. I would rollerblade. So my activity level was always pretty high, but I was never like super, super ripped. I was always lean enough to enjoy a little bit of food. Roden Gamzee. Do you believe in Jung's theory of the shadow, which is those aspects of the personality that we choose to reject and repress? I have no idea. That's outside of my brain space. I never really looked at any of it. I don't. Never really had any interest in studying that. No offense made. I know nothing about it. I know less about that than I do the last Star Wars movie. The basics always work. That's correct. Big JJ. I was going to rephrase my first question, but someone already asked it. It was about doing maximum reps on the last set. Yep. I'm glad you asked it, but just remember the long road. You're good. You're nothing but a dreamer. It's 20 cents a week for biceps and triceps. That's a lot of work, man. Too much or worth the time investment? That's the question. So I want to make sure that your compound movements for your major body parts are in the mix. From there, if you have time to do all that arm work, just watch for overuse injuries. There's a lot of risks. Make sure you're focusing on quality and then build into quantity. What's going on, Team Massive? Good evening. Stan, do you have a program focusing heavily on leg growth for beginners? Not specifically. I mean, beginners really need to just do the basics, get a quality section of 4 exercises, and attack them. That's really the best road for a beginner, if I'm being honest. How to implement conjugate training in a weighted calisthenics specific for the pull-up, for example, no idea. I don't like conjugate training. I don't teach conjugate training. And I'm not, weighted calisthenics. If you're really strong at weighted calisthenics, God bless, but I'm not a weighted calisthenics guy. I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm not going to be a dork that sits here and talks about things I don't know about. And those are two things that aren't my specialty. Big Nick from Facebook. I'm glad this actually landed on Facebook. Do you have any experience with peptides? No. Other than hearing about people take some random combination of letters and numbers, I don't have any clue at all. I have a lot of people talking about BPC 157. I wish I did. And me and Nick have been connected for a long time. I don't have, there are levels of information I have and levels I don't have. And when it comes to peptides, I don't have. That's an area where I'm so clueless that I couldn't even begin to state. Thanks for your live. I always appreciate your knowledge. Thank you. Jonathan, what is your approach again on when feeling sick and getting back into it? I don't want to make it worse. The biggest thing you need to worry about is making your immune system worse. If you are away from training and then you get back into training, you can drive your immune system down and open it up to something worse. So when you are sick, I always advocate when you feel good, taking an extra day, getting in water, getting in electrolytes, getting in your carbotrons, and kind of replenishing, refreshing, and then going back and feeling it out after that. I stopped with thumbless grip for bench press. I dropped the bar 3 times. People sometimes I made a video where I will never advocate, never back thumbless grip a bench. And some people do get angry when I share opinions like that, but I'm not telling you what to do. I just personally will never advocate it. I have been under heavy heavy bench press most of my adult life. And I will tell you, it's scary as crap to unrack that heavy weight and have it hanging over your head, even when you have catch pins. I take it super serious. And I will tell you, this is just my personal opinion, and you can tell me where to stuff it. But I do not want to be in a suicide grip position and have some random dickhead run across the gym and bump my bar. I don't. Even if I got catch pins there, I'm not going to do it. BBBBR. How much weight gain do you recommend for a female gain per week? Good question. So, anybody that's seen my daughter knows that females can gain a lot of muscle. And no, she is not on drugs. Females tend to be they're slower gainers, obviously, but they're playing the same game. And being in maintenance level is only going to make the process more difficult than it already is. But we also have to be reasonable because we don't want the female to overbloat when they have a lower potential per month. So if you do a 6-month bulk for 10 pounds, I think that's fairly reasonable. And it's easy to knock off 10 pounds and get back into it. If you want to do a 6-month bulk for 8 pounds, I'd be okay with it. We have to be somewhere in that range, I would say. And there are female trainers out there that know a heck of a lot more about the female body than I do. But as far as just being reasonable, I think that's a reasonable place to be. Big Alonzo Morning. I know it's Murray. I'm just being a dork. When I'm bulking, I don't put fat on my calves. Is there a reason why I can't grow them? Well, I hope you wouldn't put much fat on anywhere. That's the goal with a lean bulk. But is there a reason? I don't know. I'd have to look because calves have to be attacked just like the bench press. They have to be attacked with the calves inherently have a lower time under stress because when you're doing a calf rep, there's a limited range of motion. Now, I'm not a time under tension guy to the point where we elevate it to being the holy grail. But on movement patterns that don't have a lot of range of motion, like traps and calf raises, we probably have to add in more focused work, additional volume, controlled reps, that sort of thing. We have to voraciously attack progressive overload. So I don't know. I'd need to know more. I'd need to know your calf training protocol, etc. As someone who sees a lot of home gyms, do you notice certain pieces of equipment people commonly buy that they never use? Absolutely. I think it's common for people to get excited and buy all the bells and whistles. I got things lying around here that I buy that people don't. You see a lot of kettlebells. You see a lot of rucking backpacks. Not that people aren't using them, but you see a lot of little bits and pieces that some people use them, but generally some people just don't use them as much as they could or would. They bought them. Hey, it's cool. Like I got a box here to jump on. I got all kinds of toys. There's a few things I've never touched. Just legit. So yeah, it varies on the individual. Been considering a multi-grip football bar. It's a good investment, man. I mean, the neutral grip bench is a quality variety, piece of equipment. The leg extension leg curl is no, they don't collect dust. Legs are hard to train at home. If you're not serious about leg training, you really shouldn't be getting any leg equipment. But leg curl, leg extension is definitely at the top of my list. People tend to use it if they're serious about leg work because they get kind of over just doing squats. So if I had a tier list, I would have you get the leg curl, leg extension first. But you do what you do. You do you. Jay Lee. How does someone reach elite powerlifting strength? Years and years and years of hard, brutal training and patience. Or genetics. I feel like people who are full-time powerlifter and can, not really. I mean, that's not the way. And I mean that respectfully. I've been around a lot of really strong people, and it's just passion and it's just dedication and time. That's really it. And a lot of good luck. Along with discipline, consistency. Yeah, and boy, you nailed it. There have been people who started benching from 95. 600 raw is so super rare, my friend. And that's drug world too. I wouldn't say regardless of their genetics. If you get to 600 raw with bench, even with enhancements, you're not exactly Mr. Popo genetics. You have a lot of mental strength and a lot of physical wherewithal. What do you think of full body every other day? Strength and hypertrophy are the same thing. If you're going to build up strength, you have to build up hypertrophy. The strongest lifters are almost always the bigger lifters. Do lunges carry over to deadlifts? Everything has carryover to a degree, but we have to be willing to take a bigger picture look, right? There's no formula that'll say A plus B equals C. Lunges plus time equal bigger deadlift. Everything is going to have a degree of impact, right? Is it going to be substantial? No. But when we put everything together, having stronger quads is only going to help the deadlift. Big Justin Jones. Is it too much to do partials at the end of the last? Not if you can do it. If you want to do partials of an exercise and it makes sense on your last set and you can do so without beating up your body, go for it. It makes sense if it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Should we still progress in weight if we hit our progression indicator? Yes. Yeah. Well, like you can't cheat a press. So move up. One kind of cheaty rep on rows or dumbbell rows. If it's super sloppy, just don't count it. If it was good enough, count it. But just make sure you have a standard for what you're counting as a good rep. Barbell Bryce. Do you think I'll regress if I'm forced to spread my 4-day body part split? No. Once you get over 10 days and I start to worry a little bit, but 8 to 9 is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Big Nolan Rick, client of mine. What are some more nuanced tips for pendlay rows? Little things that have helped out. For example, rounded back, flat back. Pendlay rows, some of it has to come down to finding a starting position that feels good for your limb lengths and leverages. So a pendlay row, you're pulling off the ground. For some of us, taller lifters, longer arm lifters, whatever, shorter arm lifters, whatever the case is, elevating it slightly can feel better. Not all of us can do that in a commercial gym, but if you can do that, I would play around with it. You want to have your hips slightly below, this is your shoulders, hips slightly below your shoulders. Head has to be lined up with your torso, locked in place like a plank of wood, okay? You have to brace that core, and you're not moving your torso or hips. You're driving the arms back. And as you drive the elbows back, if the torso moves back a little bit because of that, that's okay. When we get into trouble is when we pull with the shoulders and then we see the elbows go back. So pendley row, if you see this, shoulders and then elbows, you're generating speed and momentum the wrong way. So you really want to lock it in. You want to have those hips right below the shoulders, the head locked into place, and you really want to focus on driving the elbows back. You don't want to be so powerful that you're reckless, but you want good power generation, like a quality focus elbow strike in martial arts where you can feel the back. And if you can't feel the back on a pendley row, once you go lean against the wall, okay, just lean back against the wall and then push yourself forward with your elbows. You should be able to feel your back. That's a good way to get in tune. You don't want your lower back rounded. You don't want your upper back rounded. You just want everything nice and linear, if that makes sense. Big Jonathan, I'd be bulking for 8 weeks straight and then get sick for 2. No, you never lose gains. All things that are in hand forever, as long as you continue to train. 2 weeks isn't really a long period of time. You might feel a little bit weaker, but anytime you fortify a muscle cell, it's pretty much fortified moving forward as long as you're not out of the gym for 10 years. So doesn't matter. All progress, all forward advancement is good forward advancement. No. And let me just clarify this a little bit because I sound like an asshole. It's not optimal. And I hate to use the word optimal. There, I just said it, hate me. So let me explain. If you can only do that during a season, do it. Okay? There are seasons where you're in school, where you don't have a lot of time. Do what you can. Okay? Is it enough? No. If you can do more, do more. That's what I mean. Don't panic that if you can't do more, you're not going to get gains. You're going to get good quality gains out of that. But I don't want you to seek that if you can do more. So, chest, back, shoulders, quads, 24 sets. 6 sets for the major muscle groups. Boom, 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 boom. Chest, shoulders, back, quads, 24. You're going to add in about 2/3 of your sets are going to be from major body parts. 1/3 are going to be from minor. 12 would be from minor. So you're up to like 36 sets per week. 4 workouts, 9 sets per workout. That's going to take you about 40 minutes. If you do 3 workouts, what do we have? Maximum an hour. Is it okay? Yeah. Should you be doing probably a little more if you can? Are you going to make progress from that? Yeah. But asking, is it enough? The right question to ask is, am I maximizing the time I have right now? Enough is doing what you can in a season. But in general, we want to do a little bit more. Do you believe in the paranormal? It's a very complex question because depending on how you consider the nature of reality, the nature of the material world, right? Matter, the interconnectedness of matter. How is it interconnected? How does information travel? How does it travel? How is it stored? Is it stored? Do our memories linger on? Are we part of a greater consciousness? Cumulative memory bank? I don't know. Do I believe in ghosts walking around? I don't believe in that. No. Things are unexplained, but I don't think there's like a vaporous, my dad walking around like a ghost, ooh, right? Like somehow they're unintelligent and if ghosts were real, they would at least have to have some reasonable degree of intelligence. Anyway. During the time that you ate mostly meat and veggies but no sugar and flour, what did you eat for movie nights? I would eat a lot of watermelon. I would eat like a half a watermelon. And I would eat I would eat cheese. This might sound crazy, but I ate a lot of cheese. And I know summer sausage isn't exactly everyone's top choice for meat, but I relied on cheese and summer sausage a lot with a lot of hot sauce. Now, I know summer sausage isn't perfect, but I was trying to get away from ice cream and chips, so it was a step forward for me at that time. So during the initial 3 months, I ate a lot of watermelon, a lot of cheese, a lot of sausage with hot sauce. And just focusing on that, I was able to drop a lot of weight. Thoughts on shoes for running? Depends on where you run. If you're doing trail running, I like the tightness of the toe box of the Salomon Speed Cross series. I like the lightness and the breathability of the Salomons. I don't have a lot of experience with other running shoes. I don't have any experience with non-trail running shoes. So I think it comes down to where you run. I would go to a running store and try some things on. You can try them on the treadmill because usually a decent running store is going to allow you the opportunity to mess with that. Face of Ghostness. Favorite movie of all time? Yes, I watched The Iron Claw. Favorite movie of all time is Aliens 2. Alien 1 is like a sneeze behind it. So, I like the Space Marines. I love the first movie. But the second movie, just a little bit. I love my program. It's your upper posterior, all the exercise I want to do for the rest of my training life. Good. My only problem is that I can't fit in any calves. Can you do calf work on off day? I mean, it takes like 5 minutes. We're just going to have to try to figure a way to get it in at home or at work or whatever. So it really is going to come down to trying to find a place to fit it in. You might not be able to fit in minor things during your regular workouts. Like you can get captains of crush grippers and you might not have time to work your forearms at the gym, or you might not be able to take them to the gym. Still trying to find a way to work them in. It's just that someone that is smaller and lifts more is generally going to be faster. I agree. Smaller people are generally lighter on their feet, but I'm just trying to understand the point. That makes it more impressive to you, right? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's what we call the small guy bias. Small guys find small guys that are bigger and stronger and faster more impressive. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just bias. It's personal bias. Personal bias is okay, but it's impressive to you. You want impressive to me? I like the Road Warriors, right? I like the Goldberg physique. I can sprint. I could sprint pretty darn well. It all depends on your goals. So, is it okay to work up to a heavy single? We already answered that one. Sorry. So let's see. Where are we at? Is 100 reps too many? If so, what is max number of reps? I need more information. When you say 100 reps is too many, If so, what is maximum reps? A rep goal per exercise? Way too many. If you're talking about for one exercise, that wouldn't make any sense at all because you're starting to get into a little bit of fringe territory. Thoughts on prawn and masturbating in general? This is a lifting channel, man. I don't mean this to be disrespectful, but this isn't a prawn and masturbation channel. I mean this in the most respectful way possible. I do not give a crap what you guys do outside of lifting. I'm all about lifting. Hey, boss, if I remember right, you take ashwagandha. Yes, I take the gummies. If so, what are the benefits? I wrote some articles on ashwagandha when I was at Tiger Fitness. So if you search Steve Shaw and Tiger Fitness, and let me just pull that up for you, ashwagandha. I wrote a lot of articles in my day at Muscle and Strength and Tiger Fitness, and that is what I did for a living. I was an editor, content director, and writer. So 3 supplements for anxiety: kava, ashwagandha, and theanine. I wrote this on May 7th, 2016. Boy, it just seems like yesterday. We're looking at like for ashwagandha, anxiety, relaxation, is a plant nightshade family, strong and anxiolytic, something anti-anxiety, reduce cortisol levels. If you have a lot of stress, it might be worth taking. Cortisol levels, minor increase in power output, maybe minor increase in blood pressure, antidepressive qualities. It's just a good overall mental health and anti-stress supplement. And if you search ashwagandha, examine.com. Examine.com is really my gold standard when it comes to research. If you want to know, go away. If you want to really know what the latest research is on a supplement, go over to examine.com. Has been called the king of Ayurvedic herbs. It's best known for reducing stress and anxiety. And when you scroll down to the research, let's assume it's on this page, it'll tell you dosage information. Most of the modern supplements are wisely dosed. It'll show you the grade and the studies and the effect. Alertness, small impact on one study. Anaerobic capacity, small impact. Attention, 2 studies. Some of this stuff is locked now, but there's little downside, anxiety and stress. Cortisol. When we think stress, we think being stressed out, but we're thinking more of a cortisol levels. If you don't have the easiest, most stress-free life, there's no really downside to taking it as a supplement. Henry Harry, along the line of Cosmic Bear's questions, which muscles do you think we can work out in spare time? Forearms, you can do the wrist roller at home. You can get one of those cheap $10 wrist rollers. You can get Captains of Crush grippers. So forearms are really easy to work out at home between a wrist roller and a Captains of Crush gripper. Calves, you could squeeze in sets of single-arm dumbbell calf raises at home. All you need to do is get a dumbbell or maybe even a 45-pound plate. Traps is going to have to be gym. You could do your rear delts at home if you had a 25, 30-pound pair of dumbbells, things like that, abs. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. You guys let me know. I don't do politics on Massive Iron. I appreciate the question, but I don't do politics. So, do you think training the tibialis anterior explicitly worth it? Three sets of tibialis anterior rises on leg day. one of the first gym I was in actually had a tibia machine. And I don't know, I guess there's no downside if you have time to do it. Is it conventional bodybuilding? Something conventionally that we train in bodybuilding? No. Does that mean you can't do it? You could mess around with it. I don't see any downside. I just remember it feeling weird in a good way, right? But not enough to me to continue to train it. How does lifting change for a long-limbed, short torso lifter? I have long arms and short legs. Lifting, like, should I put my focus on arms? You're overthinking things. You have to start, everybody, no matter where they're at, has to start in the center, okay, with convention. And then we try the exercises. And if it doesn't work for us or it doesn't feel the best, we try an equivalent exercise that does. And then we put together a pool of exercises that works really well for us. Does that make sense? So once we get into the whole realm of body types and different limb lengths and leverages and whatever, we're starting to try to pre-plan. We're trying to guess what exercises feel good for us. In reality, people are very complex. So what we have to do is start at the center, and we have to evolve things based on how things are feeling in the gym. Does that make sense? How much cheating is okay when doing rows? When doing a row, we reach failure when we notice a slowing of speed on a rep. So when you're doing an elbow drive on a row and it's normal, and then you hit that was a little bit tougher. That's your final rep. I always count that little bit of slowy rep. I count it. You don't have to. It's up to you. But that's when you've reached form failure, right? If it was a bench press and it was the opposite way, when you slow, you wouldn't be able to get the bar up. So that's basically when you are done. You can do more cheaty reps at that point if you want to do post-fatigue, post-failure type of work. That's up to you, but just don't count them in your rep work. Do you think that the hex trap bar is good for other? Yeah, absolutely. You can do RDLs with them. You can do high-handled stiff leg deadlifts with them. You can do high-handled pendley rows with them. A lot of good stuff. Trap work, yeah, absolutely. I've messed with that a lot over the years, basically since I've had a home gym recently. Can you earn a body part split for? You can do anything as long as you are recovering. Okay, there are no rules other than that it's working for you and you're recovering. Is more training? No. It's like quality training is quality training. We have to start in a place of quality training and then evolve things specifically on needs. Like doing a 6-day split, it's not going to give you. No, it's not going to inherently. You start in a place of quality. The flaw is that thinking that you're going to be able to train relentlessly and not pick up any downsides, right? So you do what you can, starting at a reasonable starting point, and then you add volume in afterwards. But if you think you're going to expedite training by just and nailing the volume, you're focused on the wrong thing. You have to focus on hard training as a cornerstone, and then from there you determine if you can add in more volume. Does that make sense? Goat's face, hawk and animal baby. Yeah, when it comes to like impressive or what we consider impressive, when it comes to the small, I find it all impressive, right? There's been guys that could deadlift 600 pounds that weigh 140. My daughter can stay lean and just look like a freak. Impressive is relative, and everybody's impressive, but I find everybody's physical accomplishments to be impressive just in different ways. I'm not trying to give everybody a trophy here. You know what I'm saying? But, if I respect work, I respect the process. Just know when you're looking at these freaks, these people that can deadlift 600 pounds and weigh like a feather, and you say they're small, We looked at that guy, and he is not small. He's extremely muscular. And I go back to the point that the strongest power lifters are almost always, and this is not opinion, this is based on science, the biggest power lifters. Dude was muscular, off the charts. Henry Harry, back to the 100 reps too many. Doing 5x20 or 4x20. It's a little bit getting into cardiovascular, elevated heart rate. The question is, why are we doing that? Are you limited by equipment? Do you like to do that? Do it. I don't know. It's just not convention. It's harder to hold form. You can pick up some strains and pains deeper in the sets. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just not convention. It's not the way I like to train. Too many. The bottom line is too many if it's beating you up. As long as you're able to progress, try it for an experiment. See what happens. Okay, but you've seen masturbation is not going to affect your results. Anybody that believes so, and I'm not saying you, but any YouTuber or voice is an idiot. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say some naughty words. So turn down your speakers. Anybody out there in the industry that's warning you not to masturbate or have sex because it's going to impact your gains is a fucking idiot. Of the highest level of fucking idiots. This is some of the dumbest shit ever tossed out on YouTube fitness. It's fucking epic level idiot. Okay. Having sex is not going to impact your gains. Okay. That's some of the dumbest stuff. The body is not that fragile, and people putting out this content should be banned from putting out content because they're a fucking idiot. Excuse my language. No, this is just another junk supplement. I wouldn't spend a cent on any of this. I'm not going to try that stuff. I've been around the block for a long time. I have no interest in trash, spending my money on trash like this. Over the long run, it's not going to make any difference. The only difference it's going to make is draining your pocketbook. I have no idea what AG1 is, and I apologize. I really don't have a clue what it is. On the pause bench in your program, 77.5, 6 sets of 2. How long of a pause? When you pause on a bench or a squat, I want you guys to always remember that the point isn't how long you can pause. The point of a pause is to maintain tightness. Okay, so if you're coming down if somebody's dive bombing a squat, okay, or bouncing it off their chest on a bench, we want to learn control. So the point of a pause bench or the point of a pause squat, in my opinion, is to teach control while you're lowering it. So how long you stay down doesn't matter as much as that you are in control. So it can be like 1001, come on. You don't want to get to the point where you're trying to arbitrarily stay down forever. And then encourage looseness, okay? And then encourage looseness, and then that defeats the whole point. Does that make sense? There's no benefit of doing a 10-second pause. If you want to do it, fine. There's no benefit, right? If you can the only thing you're going to learn is like how to stay tight for 10 seconds. That's really not going to make you stronger. If you want to do it, do it. I'm just sharing my opinion. YouTube keeps removing my comments. No, I don't do videos with anybody anymore. If I would do videos, it would be with Jeffrey. It would be with Alpha. It would be with James Tiny Vest. So that would just be as a guest. How do you know if you're recovering completely? You're not going to overtrain, right? Overtraining is virtually impossible. If anything, you're just going to do a lot of extra junk volume work. It's very, very difficult to overtrain. You would know if you were overtrained because you'd wake up feeling like death and unable to move. Stephen, Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Henry Harry, thank you for sharing your thought process. You bet. Thank you for sharing your years of advice. You've helped me a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody that takes time to say thank you in this day and age has my respect. And I appreciate you guys, and I hope I provide some value. This is a last call for questions, guys. I'm going to hop off if I don't have any more questions, so get them in quickly. What about like the boxers in the past that said women? Ian, if you were here right now, I'd nut punch you. I mean that with all the respect in the world. I would go boop like the Three Stooges. I'm not a boxer. I don't have a big fight tomorrow. Sex is not going to slow your gains. You can stop doing all you want. I don't care. This is a lifting channel. If you don't want to tug your tug toner, if you don't want to spank your monkey, if you don't want to slap your porpoise, if you don't want to slobber your gobber, whatever you're doing, man, no one gives a shit. Okay? Sex is not going to impact your gains unless you're doing it like 2 seconds before you go into the gym. I mean that with all the respect in the world. Guys, I don't have a big fight tomorrow. I'll tell you with love, my friend. I've been lifting for 38 years, 39 now. And if you really want to know the nitty gritty, I can't tell you. I've probably had sex 98% of the times before the day of a workout. So, hey, I've been married forever, been in relationships forever, and we don't want to have sexy time talk, right? Very nice, sexy time. But, dude, get over it. I mean that with love. Get the fuck over it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for more sexy time talk, and we are out.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.